Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy
Good morning.
Monday. This is our Facebook AMA Live Ask Me Anything at Dr. Simon's Metabolics and Weight Loss. I am with Tina this morning, who you may remember from a previous one.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Dr. Simon's is out, so luckily Tina was able to come in. So we're going to have a wonderful conversation answering some of your questions. Please, if you're watching live, give us some comments. If you want to send in a question for a future episode, do so. You can even send a question live. So we are open. We're here in the Raleigh location, which is on Falls of Neuse Road, on right off 540 next to Piper's Tavern. And the Durham location is open as well, right across from the South Point Mall, straight to South Point.
Yeah, from 12 to 7 today.
Yes, and today in Raleigh, it's 11 to 7:30. So if you need an appointment, give us a call. We have openings this week. We can get you in for sure. So thank you to everyone who has sent in questions. We're really grateful for that. We're going to start with Mitch from Durham. How much sleep do you recommend your patients get? This is a great question to start a Monday with.
Yes, after the weekend.
After the weekend. Sleep is a lot more important than I think
I do believe that.
I'll sleep when I'm dead, or I really don't need that much. I can function off of very little sleep. That's not really true for most people. We know that it affects weight, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah, they say the magic number is 8, but some people may need more than 8. Some people are fine with less, 6 to 7. But I don't know. I believe minimum of 8. I think our body needs that to repair and to get a good start for the next day.
I completely agree. I usually tell my patients 7 to 9 hours is what we should be shooting for. And I think an important distinction is time in bed is not time asleep necessarily. If we're playing on our phone and scrolling and waking up a lot and then having to take time to fall back to sleep, that's time in bed. That's not necessarily sleep time. So really we're looking at 7 to 9 hours of sleep time as the goal. And I tell patients who have the option to go to bed, they're not night shift workers, to go to bed before midnight, that you get extra credit for every hour you sleep before midnight. There really is something related to our circadian rhythm and going to sleep closer to when the sun goes down than when the sun goes up. So it's important to remember that sleep, as Tina said, is very healing. It's very restorative. And it also plays a role in the hormones that regulate our appetite, our cravings, and our weight. So folks who are struggling and tell us, I'm eating correctly, I don't understand why I'm not losing, we're going to ask questions. What's your sleep like? What's your stress like? Because those are two pillars of health that I think get ignored. A lot of people talk about diet and exercise and diet and exercise and diet and exercise. Now we know that diet is very important and exercise is important for health, maybe not weight loss so much, but health, yes, and sleep, yes. But if the sleep is not on point or if the stress is not well managed, it is going to be extremely difficult to lose weight, even doing all the right things. So we value sleep. And Mitch, I say 7 to 9 hours, depending on the person, but that may actually be more hours in bed than 7 to 9 in order to get a good night's sleep. We carry in the office some products that are specific for sleep. We have CBD products, and I've used that for years.
Yes.
I love CBD. I take it twice a day. We have 3 products that are tinctures that you take actually internally. It's a little tincture oil you hold on. One is
fall asleep, but then it helps you stay asleep. So that is important.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people who can fall asleep, but then they wake up during the night and have trouble falling back to sleep. So this will help you. The CBD will help you as well.
Yes. And then we have a broad spectrum and a full spectrum that help with sleep, as well as lots of other things like fighting inflammation and reducing pain and helping with anxiety and even helping some with appetite and the inflammatory factors that change our appetite and change our cravings and change our ability to lose weight. So CBD can be great. And then we also carry magnesium which is helpful. I recommend a lot for sleep.
Absolutely.
I also take that myself. Magnesium is a mineral that we all need more of, I think, and we have a great option in the Metagenics brand for magnesium. So I think we covered sleep well enough to move on.
I believe so.
Right.
I'd like to crawl into bed right now.
Right. It's Monday.
It's a gloomy day out there.
And a reminder, we are answering your questions on this Monday at the AMA Live at Dr. Simon's Metabolics and Weight Loss. Please send us your comments and your questions. We'd love to get them. So let's move on to Jason from Raleigh. Jason is asking what the best way is to manage his electrolytes. Do sports drinks really help? So electrolyte management is really important when you're trying to lose weight, especially if you're doing a ketogenic diet.
Exactly, especially on a ketogenic diet.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you actually mentioned sports drinks in particular, Jason, because there is a lot we need to consider when we're looking at electrolyte drinks. And the main thing, sugar. Yeah, so all your regular brand name sports drinks like your Gatorade or your gosh, how many are there? Powerade. There's so many. There's so many out there. We say if there's sugar in it, you don't need it because you can get the electrolytes without the sugar. You can get the Gatorade Zero. You can get the Powerade Zero. Propel has no sugar. And then they have unsweetened, unartificially sweetened, and unflavored electrolyte water like Core Water, Smart Water.
Exactly. Yeah.
So replacing electrolytes does not need to come in the form of a sports drink. And if you need to replace them, whether you're on a ketogenic diet or not, for overall health, it is best to avoid any beverage that has sugar in it. So I would say stick with some of the ones that I just mentioned that have zero sugar. What else about electrolytes do you think is important to consider?
We do also carry in the clinic the magnesium and potassium together. And that's a great product from Metagenics. So that's something that you can take. And of course, there's no sugar in it. There's absolutely zero additives, but it will help to keep that potassium and magnesium at optimum levels. And that's something that you can consider as well. But like Michelle said, you do have to be very careful with the sports drinks. Really have a look at the sugar in them because you're really defeating the purpose of getting those electrolytes in when you're taking in all that sugar.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of times what we feel from a lack of electrolytes is sometimes dizziness, lightheadedness because of a drop in blood pressure. We can feel very, very fatigued. We can get muscle cramps or aches. So the electrolytes that we focus on most are the magnesium, potassium, which you can get in pill form. Potassium is actually very high in avocados. So I usually tell folks, well, even though bananas are the ones that everyone thinks of for potassium, because those do have a lot of sugar in them, we vote for avocados or guacamole to get some good potassium. And then sodium, this fear of salt that we've developed as a society because we were groomed to believe that salt is so dangerous for us, when in fact it's processed food that has a lot of added salt that is the danger, not the sodium itself. We really do need to be conscious when we're eating healthy, whole, unprocessed foods that we have to add salt, pink salt, sea salt, not just for flavor, but for the electrolytes that help our bodies run efficiently and not let us have some of those symptoms of the dizziness, the achiness, the fatigue. And the ketogenic diet in the beginning, that drop in electrolytes, you will need electrolyte replacement. So the sodium, the potassium, magnesium.
Right. And the sugar is not a good source of energy.
No, it's important to remember.
Right. People do tend to think, oh, I'll just have a little bit of sugar and I'll just have all this energy. And you come crashing down soon enough after that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So very, very good question, Jason. Thank you. Let's move on to Lisa from Durham. Lisa's asking us, how important are omega-3s when trying to lose weight? All right.
Well, we have, again, through Metagenics, which I'm a big fan of, we carry multiple supplements from them. One of them being my very do you want to just, thank you, Michelle.
So this is the one we carry in the office.
So fish oils do multiple things. They increase your HDL, which is your good cholesterol. They lower inflammation. The lower your inflammation, the easier it is to lose weight. Studies have shown the more inflammation you have in your body, the harder it is to lose weight. They reduce the likelihood of heart attack and stroke, and they lower your blood pressure. High blood pressure over a long period of time can wear heavily on your heart, and it can contribute to heart attack. This is Healthy Heart Month. Not only, is it the Valentine's,
Right.
month, and it is Healthy Heart Month, and Michelle has been very gracious to allow me to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is FH for short, familial hypercholesterolemia. We have a lot of patients that come into the office who are overweight and are looking to reduce their insulin, reduce their LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. And we do a great job with that. As you lose weight, those numbers start to come down. There is something called FH that even when you do lose weight, your cholesterol levels don't fall quite as low as you would think. So patients with FH are born with very high levels of LDL. It's a genetic thing. It's in families. So one of the things is that the fish oils will definitely help with that. But if you are noticing, Michelle, and as you have patients that their LDLs after losing weight have not come down to the levels that you think that they should, it could be a red flag to get tested for FH. Mm-hmm. Normally, it affects families. It doesn't generally skip that generation. So if there's one person in the family with FH, you may want to get everybody tested. Mm-hmm. Certainly mention it to your doctor, and it's a very simple testing that they can do, and then you can take it from there. If this is something near and dear to my heart, because this is something that I have, the FH, and Michelle will tell you that I work out, I eat right, I do everything.
Oh yeah.
But those patients just need a little bit more help in getting their LDL down. Again, the fish oil will increase your HDL, which is what you want. You want that HDL to increase so it can clear that cholesterol out of your system and back into your liver. But it's not going to be all that you will need to treat FH. Mm-hmm. So again, red flag, you're losing weight, you're doing great, insulin levels are down, inflammation is down, but that LDL is quite not as low as you need it. Talk to your doctor about it possibly being FH. It affects 34 million people worldwide. It causes buildup of plaque in the walls, which is atherosclerosis. And without treatment, it can reduce your lifespan 15 to 30 years. So it's very important to look into that if you find that the levels are not coming down quite as much. But mm-hmm. I do appreciate talking about that. It's near and dear to me. And, if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I can certainly talk to you about my experience with it. There are support groups out there, and you can certainly call the clinic, Raleigh or Durham, and we can talk further about that.
I think this is a really good example of why working with experienced medical professionals, because there's a lot more to cholesterol and omega-3s and weight loss than just, here, take this, or here, eat this way. Mm-hmm. It's very complex when the body is doing something that we don't fully understand why, or there's some genetic change that has happened that's causing this to occur, then different treatment is going to be required. And there is treatment for the condition of FH. So don't feel like, there's no hope. There's absolutely hope, even if you do have that in your family. Looks like Pam has a question. Do statins help with FH?
Yes, statins can help somewhat. They and everyone responds to statins differently. Some people get extreme muscle pain with statins, and so they have to lower their dose. And by lowering your dose, it's not going to bring your LDL down quite like it should. I think the LDL should be down lower than 120, and it doesn't lower that far if you experience muscle pain, and then you'll have to reduce it. So it does help somewhat for some people, though they cannot tolerate it. Again, even with the statins, if it's not lowering it down enough, then you may want to look into the FH again.
And there are lipidologists, there are specialists that will work with patients like Tina, and have all kinds of information and resources that maybe a primary care would not, because that's not their specialty. So I think it's good to know that there are options out there. And Pam, while that may be an option for some, there may be other options for others. There are injectable options. There are newer agents that have come out specifically for this condition that really have been very successful.
That's
very
right.
successful.
Not everyone can tolerate the statins, so keep an eye on how low your numbers are going, even with the statins.
And thank you, Pam, for watching, and thank you so much for that question. We really appreciate the live questions when they come in to our AMA here at Dr. Simon's Weight Loss. We're continuing to answer your questions, and we just touched on a question about omega-3s, and we're able to talk more about FH, which is a really important topic, I think.
Thank you.
So let's move on to Gina from Durham. How do you set goals for weight loss if you failed at every diet you've tried? Oh, Gina, you're not alone. I can promise you that failure, or the inability to reach a goal and sustain it lifelong, is really part of the process for everyone who has struggled with their weight. It is not an indication that there will not be success out there. And we every day see people who say this to us and say, nothing's worked. How is this going to be any different? And we are able to support them in ways that they probably have never been supported before when it comes to medications and a metabolic assessment and supplements and the continued accountability and restructuring a treatment plan. A lot of people, if I do this one thing and it doesn't work, or it only works for a little while and then it stops, it ends. Whereas in our practice, we just change the plan, right? We change the dietary plan. We switch something up with the fitness regimen. We switch something up with the medication regimen. There, for us, in our eyes, there is always the next step. There is always something else we can do or can try. And it is a trial and error. It absolutely is. But there's got to be something that maybe we haven't been able to try yet, right? That someone else has experience with, that we can give it a go, and maybe it'll work, and maybe it won't, and I'll try something else, and that's okay.
And I do, sometimes the word diet is overused. We like to think of this as a lifestyle change. This isn't a diet where you're on for, a month or two or a year. This is a lifestyle change that you can sustain and will always be here, even when you reach your weight loss goal as a maintenance, we can still guide you for as long as you need us to. And so let's take that diet out of it and lifestyle change.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point. I'm so glad you brought that up, because yes, the word diet has a very negative connotation, and it typically indicates a short-term pattern of eating that is meant to produce results that are typically unrealistic, quite frankly. So I think expectations are very important. And I don't even use the word failure.
No.
I try to avoid really all negative language. You tried, you learned some stuff, and now we're going to try something different, is usually the way we frame it. Because typically you do learn something, even when it doesn't work out the way you had planned. It is a learning experience to know that maybe next time something else is going to have to be a little bit different, or maybe something did work. It just didn't work, as a whole plan. So we need to tease out some of those things that were successful and then apply those, but in a different way going forward. So we can definitely help you if you are feeling hopeless. I promise there is hope. Give us a call, make an appointment. And if you've never taken medications before, I can tell you that is a game changer for so many folks. All right, let's move on. You want to take Susan's question?
Susan from Apex asks, do I need to limit or be careful how much protein I eat on a keto diet? I would say no. No. The majority of patients don't get enough protein. We do like, the 30 grams of protein. We believe that that's, a good stepping stone for each meal, but you can get more of that. You certainly, and then your snacks to have some protein as well. We want to stabilize that blood sugar all day long, and then the protein will help to do that. So I don't believe that, you have a limit on protein on a keto diet. Michelle, what do you think about that?
I agree with you. I think in general, Tina's 100% correct that we are not getting enough protein. It's funny, we can be, especially in this country, overfed and yet very malnourished. So protein is a macronutrient that is required for life. Our skin, our hair, our nails, our bones, like our blood, there's protein in everything. And if we are not eating the proper amount of protein, our body will try to figure out how to break down another area that maybe we don't need as much. Maybe our muscles, right? Doesn't want to put protein in the muscles and make those muscles strong because it needs the protein for a different area or a different muscle, like the heart muscle, right? So we really are huge fans of eating adequate amounts of protein. The 30 grams per meal is important. I will say the only time where we may caution folks about their protein intake is if they're doing a lot of protein shakes, a lot of powders, a lot of liquid protein. And that is simply because you do not get the same level of fullness. And so it may be easier to overconsume. But when you're eating protein like chicken or beef or pork or salmon or scallops or shrimp or eggs, it is filling. I would really say, other than the people we see on the Food Network overeating like 50 ounces of steak, I would really challenge most individuals to overeat protein multiple times a day and not feel like it's going to come back up on them. Protein is filling, it is satiating, it keeps that blood sugar stable. It just works phenomenally for helping with weight loss while keeping you full. And, with the keto diet, we have a ton of great recipes on Dr. Simon's Instagram page. Casual Keto Doctor .com has great information. And then on our website, we have blogs about keto and different recipes posted. So we post a lot of protein-based recipes because we are not worried about individuals over consuming. There's just way too much value in having regular protein intake. And I think that the keto world, there is a lot of talk and misconception about how you need to eat lots and lots and lots of fat and very little protein and no carbohydrate in order to be successful. And that's just simply not true. Maybe for some individuals who are very, very metabolically sick, there may be a place for that. Or in individuals who are using the keto diet for seizure treatment, then a much higher fat is going to be required. But for individuals looking to lose weight and feel good and get those therapeutic benefits of keto, I do not think restricting protein is something that should be part of the plan.
I agree. And there isn't really a set number on the intake of fat either when it comes to the keto diet. There is with the carbohydrates, you certainly want them on the lower level, but there isn't a certain ratio with fat and protein. Those two, whatever works best for you. But yes, definitely keep up with your protein.
Absolutely. And just to give you an example of what 30 grams of protein looks like, because a lot of people say, well, what is that, right? That doesn't mean anything. We talk about the rule of 7s. Every 1 ounce of meat, every 1 whole egg, and every 1 ounce of cheese and 1 ounce of seafood has about 7 grams of protein. So we're looking for about 4 to 5 ounces, or 4 to 5 eggs, or 3 eggs, an ounce of cheese, and an ounce of meat. right? So when you're putting that together on a plate, it's a lot easier to figure that out. And visually, 4 to 5 ounces of meat looks about like a deck and a half to 2 decks of carbs. Okay, so you don't have to have a food scale. You don't have to do all this fancy math. You just have to be able to look at it and know, or count your eggs or count your ounces of cheese, and know that you are getting an adequate amount of protein. Because while we're talking about there not really being a maximum, there is a minimum per meal. That 30 grams, when we cross that threshold, something happens in our body. And that is a metabolic process. The mTOR pathway gets activated, and this muscle protein synthesis starts. And that's a fancy way to say your body takes that protein you're eating, and it starts to repair and rebuild new tissues all throughout the body. And that is really energy intensive. And the metabolic rate goes up about 30 to 40% for the following 3 to 4 hours. So everyone that comes in and says, I have no metabolism, I need help with my metabolism.
There you go with the
First
protein.
thing we say is eat some protein,
Yeah.
right? That's a great way to raise your metabolic rate.
And I do want to add the whole egg. Not just the white.
Yes.
We want the whole egg. There's a lot of benefits to that yolk. So we do want to take in that whole egg.
Yes, and the meats don't have to be super lean. It can be chicken thigh and drumstick and wings, not just breast.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. All right. So let's move on to Michelle. You want to turn this
Yeah. So Michelle from Chapel Hill. I'm not a patient of yours, but I've been on keto for 3 weeks and I'm not losing any weight. What do I need to consider? Being on keto, but what is your intake of carbs? What level of the carbs are you at? Are you taking in enough protein? Are you taking in enough fat? And 3 weeks is a relatively short amount of time. You do have to give your body that time to adjust to it. But we would like to see you. We'll definitely, help you to tweak it just to see what you're doing. And you may need some medication. It may help you to get on some medication to give you that boost. And then again, sometimes just charting how many carbs you're having, like how much protein, how much fat are you taking in? Are you eating enough? Some people on keto don't eat enough. They will have one main meal, but we can certainly get you to eat your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, still stay within a relatively good amount of protein. And intermittent fasting, that helps a lot with some patients, and that's something that we can help as well. We're big fans of that.
Yeah, it may need to be individualized. I see a question from Florence asking, how low does your carb intake really need to be? And that really does depend. I think it is simple to kind of say broadly, initially under 20 grams of carbohydrate, you will be able to get into ketosis. Some individuals can go between 20 and 50 and still be in a ketogenic state. So I think starting with 20, definitely safe. Most individuals under 50 are going to be in a state of ketosis. And there are even some individuals who can do higher than that and still be able to be in a state of ketosis. But most of our patients, I would say, are between 20 and 50 grams. Would you agree?
Yeah. And I don't know, Michelle, what are your thoughts about the total carbs and the net carbs when it comes to keto?
Yeah.
A lot of people get those confused.
That's a good question.
If you're very sensitive to carbs, you may want to look at the total carb intake when you're on a keto diet. You can start off with net carbs, but if you find you're not losing weight, you may need to switch to the total carbs.
Yeah. And these are things that we can talk about if you do come in for an appointment, because in our practice, we do individualized treatment plans. We do a metabolic assessment. It's very possible, Michelle, that you really are doing all the things we're saying. You're eating enough, your carbs are low enough. Maybe you're on a medication that is preventing you from being able to lose weight. Or maybe there's something in your blood work that we could see where there's some insulin resistance, that maybe you do need an agent like metformin. Or maybe calorie-wise, if you do start tracking, realize you're eating a little bit too much, but you're struggling to control appetite, maybe an appetite suppressant would be helpful. So that's what we do here. So please give us a call. Don't hesitate. We're here to troubleshoot and help find out what you're doing and just what we need to tweak to help it work a little bit better. So quick reminder, check out our website, simonsmetabolics.com. We got a ton of blogs and recipes and tips and great information and resources. Thank you so much, Tina, for being here. This is wonderful. And thank you for attending and for your questions. Send questions in for next time.
Yeah, thanks
we'll
for
see
watching.
You in 2 weeks.
We are open and come and see us.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Bye-bye. Thank you.